Hey, Lisa,
Hi, Ron. How are you?
good. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm just multitasking and driving, so I'll just be listening in.
Perfect. Yeah, last time people we didn't start till like about five after, six after, because it took a little while for people to get in.
Okay.
So
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you as well. Hey, Darsh, good to see you again.
Hey Ron, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great.
I'm sure some more people will be coming in, but we'll go ahead and start. So Darsh was on last week's call, Elisa. So I'll just go ahead and give a quick. Well, actually, Darsh may have come in a little bit late. I don't know if he heard my little preamble, but I met Michael through uh, one of the guys that's in the group named Rami, who I do his revenue management for. And I've been in the vacation rental industry since about 2018, but I was in the hotel industry before that. But when I joined the vacation rental industry, I was working for a company called Turnkey, and they ended up later on getting purchased by Vacasa. But I was managing a very large portfolio of about 1,600 vacation rentals across the Eastern Seaboard, like through the pandemic and stuff like that. And then after the pandemic, I was like, hey, this is crazy working for corporate America. I want to try to do something on my own, and realize that the biggest issue or challenge that we sort of have, at least from like that perspective, when I was managing that many units, was ensuring that we were getting into the vacation rental, that we were ensuring that our cleaners were doing the five-star cleans, that the inspections were happening, and then the maintenance was being taken care of. So basically, no money down back in, I think it was like 22, 21, 22. I decided to start an STR cleaning business in the Fort Lauderdale area, and that's how I sort of started on my entrepreneurial road. From there, I got into managing and co-hosting a few properties, but really how things have turned out for me is that I do revenue management and pricing strategy and STR consulting. And I have about now 200 plus properties that I do revenue management for on a fractional or monthly basis. And that equates to about 10 million plus in revenue. So through Rami, who's one of my revenue management clients, even though he's on the 1% team, I met Michael and I started working with him on uh, going more detailed through the underwriting process and collaborating on that. And then he asked me if I would do these Monday calls that I love talking to and mentoring people and talking about the industry. So that's how I started doing these about a week ago. So that's that. And so we're going to have I think, some scheduled topics. Katie, I think, was working on some things and she put some stuff out to the group. But I think it's coming in May. So today is going to be more of an open QA thing. So we'll see if there's any open Q&A first from you guys. If not, I'm going to show you guys, though, something in Price Labs, which I think is sort of the starting point, which is I call my ops dashboard. At least that way it'll be then recorded for other people that they can go in and add this dashboard to their to the Price Labs. And this is exactly how I'm able to manage so many properties and see how they're performing at a glance to realize or make the decision on if I need to go in and re-optimize the listing from that standpoint, from a Price Lab side of things. So with that, Darsh, did you have any open Q&A for today? There's any topics you wanted me to cover, and or Lisa?
Yeah, so I actually did have two questions. One was, I think I mentioned last time, I was looking into the FIFA bookings
Yes.
and the occupancy percentages. So wanted to touch base on that and see, what do you think? And then second question is, so I've been with this program for about a year and a half, and then I was struggling for the better part of the year and a half, and then recently my property has picked up. I was working with Becky for a while now, and then she helped me tremendously to kind of turn it around. But couple things that I'm afraid of is, yes, it is getting picked up as the summer is coming along, and then historically Houston, it's been it's not as dramatic in terms of seasonality, but Houston, it is summer. So wanted to say if it's just summer or should I be worried for the slower season? And then even if I were to get booked only on the weekends, I'm barely making enough to cover all my costs. So, is
Yep.
that something that's sustainable or, how can I improve that? And I think
Okay.
that's where the more underwriting, part
Yeah.
comes in.
Perfect. Are you able to in the chat? Are you able
Mhm.
to throw your Airbnb listing in there
Absolutely.
by
Just give me
chance?
1 second. Yep.
Okay, and then I have a really good FIFA article I'm going to bring up that talks about it in general. So, and I know Lisa, you're driving, so you may just you'll probably keep yourself on mute, but feel free to. Oh, there you go, Lisa. See if you
I
wanted
just
to
got
add
back
anything.
to the office. I don't think I have any questions, but I did just turn my Arvada Arbitrage property over to Chris and the team. So I don't know if you'll be the one managing that for the
Yeah,
revenue management.
awesome.
So I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have the ability to throw your listing in the chat as well too, that would be great. So let's first take a look at what. Let's see, let's see here. Okay, this is all of a sudden, Darshis. I don't know if you got the individual. This is actually coming up to my profile here. The link that you sent. So can you try the link one more time?
Sure. Might have
I don't
sent you the
know.
wrong one. Uh, let's see.
Let's see. No. Okay, yeah. Here's Lisa's coming up here. Okay, let's try to start. Okay. Okay, sweet. Yeah, let's take a quick look here. Let me go ahead and actually share my screen. Everybody can see what we're doing here. Thank you both. Okay, and so what happens for me is when I come in, and this is the way I look at revenue management as well, too, guys, from the perspective of, hey, it's not just my pricing strategy with Price Labs. I mean, yes, that's where I spend the majority of my time, but basically, then I use the trifecta of coming in, looking at the listing, looking at the reviews, taking a look at, for me, what automatically would be potentially catching my eye from the scroll, the initial scroll stopping image, especially if you're thinking about that this may only be on mobile, as opposed to I have one picture that I'm looking at. And so the very first thing I'll come in and is take a look at the listing to see what is going on, see which images I think capture, potentially capture at best. See, for me, it's about selling an experience. And so I'm looking at, when I go through the images, what are the amenities that maybe the house has to offer? So obviously, this is going to be one of the primary amenities is the rooftop that you have. You can see her like right off the freeway a little bit with the corner of the photo here. This was a great photo to lead with. Don't know if it's AI generated, which it may be. Okay, which is fine. I totally get it, but I just but at least it's something that shares the imagery of doing that, right? You can sort of see that this is it is what it is. Okay, so let me just continue to scroll through here and take a look. Right. Okay. So yeah. So you're smart to want to lead with this perspective here, right? And granted, albeit that it is AI generated, we have to do what we have to do because the photos, right? We should really be thinking about: are there any other amenities in the property that then should make up the top 5? And right here, what I'm going to say, since you don't have any other per se amenities out here, I do like the one photo of showing like the bigger space of the kitchen and the great room. But I think you could also immediately throw in your bedrooms because you do actually have a good design aesthetic overall that makes the property stand out, as opposed to me right now. These all read, I'll call it monotone. It's very much with the bronzy gold here, and it shows the nice height of the ceilings, which is good, but it's nothing that I almost feel like these are almost like repeating each other. And in lieu of that, if you did, which you really don't, have any other outside photos, this is a great photo because it's going to add contrast out of the top 5. This one will definitely add contrast as well too. You have really nice bathrooms, and even that may be a key selling point for the property. And that's really what we're sort of focused on. What are the key selling points? So I would probably, even though this is not the best shot, I would probably still add a daytime one. And I don't necessarily want you to do the same one where people can sort of pick that out. So I would probably say, go with this outside photo, go with one of the bedrooms, at least, if not both. And then maybe think about like, hey, this is like, especially because I think you have a jetted tub, right?
Yep.
Here, what it looked like. That may be something for somebody as well too. So you have to work with sort of like what you have, right? And because so for me, I probably just, and you didn't take the photos. It is what it is. I would say that the photo that the photographer who did this, and I don't know how long ago they did it, it's okay, but I think it could probably be a little bit better. I think there could have been some more shots. And again, not actually walking the property or feeling it. The only sense that I get of whatever are the two sort of shots from the outside space. Everything else, any and all amenities would be interior here. This shows like has a great value proposition because it shows you that, hey, everybody can be together and they can cook and dine and entertain from that perspective. This is a great view of the master or primary. And then if you show then the primary bath with the jetted tub, at least you're showing something that is communicating a story to people that I think is super important here. So that's how I would approach this. I don't know what opinions you have, Darcy, because this is your own. And again, when I say things, I'm just saying them sort of unfiltered, and it's not mean to say something bad. It's just my sense after looking at, I look at thousands of listings probably a month, and I look at a ton of listings every single day. Because when I go in, it's not just my clients' listings, it's my clients' listings and then their comp sets and their listings, right? Because you're wanting to ensure that this is, whatever we're competing against. I may have something similar that I could probably even pull up to just show you another example. Let me see if this Price Labs account.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think you sounded a bit hesitant on the AI photos. The only reason why I did those.
Yeah, no, and it's not that. That's not just. I think we're all there right now. We would prefer if we didn't. If we would prefer if we didn't have to use them. And there's no general rule right now, from my understanding, that is telling us we can or can't use that. But we. I could just sometimes when I look at photos, if it looks too heavily processed, then I feel other people may pick that up as well too. So from that perspective, I think we all want to be careful. And then you'll get some photographers that will say, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Okay. Here is again, just sort of different perspective. Now, granted, same color, basically same color, whatchamacallits, window coverings. Yeah, window coverings. Now this obviously is a much different view, which is why you have this view of downtown Houston, and it's another rooftop. But this is what people are buying, right? They're buying this outdoor experience. Now, technically, this should also have an outside photo as well too. And this is just this one feels a lot more staged, I guess, is the thing, and that's what I'm just really going for. But let me just see if they have any other outdoor. No, actually, like this is even a better view. They have a barbecue out there. They should have more of these here. That actually, this even looks a little fake to me too. Like even this view, I don't know, like if it just seems so heavily processed, but these definitely look a little too processed to me. But with that being said, I know some of this stuff has got to be realistic because for one, I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know what they're doing, but like even these clouds, some of these clouds don't even look real to me in these photos, but it is what it is. But here's a great, while I have you here, let me bring up this article on what's happening with FIFA. And it's not actually great. Okay. So, and I think I can do this here. I can put this in the chat as well too, so that people can access it. This came out from Key Data, I think about a week ago. And it was very, very, very insightful. So what they're basically saying is that for FIFA, bookings are up, but it really is sort of dependent on what market you're in. and what's happening in that individual market here. So this is a really strong graph that has broken down all of the FIFA markets across the US and showing us actually what's happening. And Houston, Darsh right here, literally nothing is happening in Houston. It's probably one of the weaker besides LA here. And then because these are split here, this is like Philadelphia, rates are up, but occupancy I think is down. And then the opposite with this. So basically, there's maybe one market right here, the New York market, that is heavily working. Let's see. So I have something in Boston. I know Boston is actually performing well overall, and you can see it because there is the ADR increase, which is on the right. So if most of these ADR is going up somewhat, and then on the left hand side is basically your occupancy or year over year growth in occupancy, I think is what they're calling it here. And so Atlanta, it looks like rate is up really good. Boston, nothing really happening in Dallas or Houston. Okay. And nothing really happening in LA. So we're getting some additional occupancy. This also comes during our summer period down here in South Florida, where we are predominant, where we have, we have fairly low rates after this is really considered sort of off season for us here, as opposed to many of the other people where that is summer. And then that's really the summer season for these other markets. And then I'm going to take you a little bit deeper. So right now, as far as Houston is concerned, FIFA is, in my opinion, is not going to pick up. Then earlier this week, in the middle of last week, I was on like this Airbnb call for local hosts, Miami or South Florida. They had somebody from Price Labs on there, and basically he was saying to people, hey, if you haven't already started to lower your prices for World Cup, you probably should start thinking about doing it. He was trying to say it sort of, read between the lines. He didn't really want to come out and say, hey, I'm telling you that you should lower your prices. But I'll show you on this one account here what it looks like and why people, I think, have greatly overestimated what is going to happen here. And Houston's the only area that you have. Arvada is not in the mix from that perspective. So unfortunately, we're not in any of the key areas that are driving both year over year occupancy and then ADR growth. That really looks like it's few and far between. Boston, Philly, I've had some success with definitely with rate in Philly. This one is interesting, showing how down the rate is, but occupancy is way up. But I do have a couple of properties in Philly that are doing good. I'm doing like okay in Fort Lauderdale, where I have some properties, better than I thought, meaning just on my rate. And we're just sort of really getting into the actual normal booking window for summer season. So that's fascinating. So I'm going to continue to follow that. And then Boston, I know, has been relatively strong as well too. But unfortunately, where your property's at, Houston is not performing that right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
And then when it comes to the later stages of FIFA,
yeah. So say that, Darsh. I'm sorry.
The later stages of FIFA where the matches aren't decided yet. What should be the strategy there? What if it's someone?
Yeah. So that again, that is going to be that's sort of like you could look at it as the tale of two cities. I think that maybe the smart play is to sort of hold, but let's take a look at this right here, right? So right now, this is still how everybody has pricing, right? So if you guys have been into Price Labs a lot, when you start to see this wide variance, this is exactly how people are still priced Again, this is for a 3-bedroom property in the Houston area. And what I'm looking at is not just how people have things priced. What is anything currently driving right here? And so right now, there's one game that's driving things here currently, and that is sitting at 50% occupancy for right now. That's that's on the first half, and the second half is still undecided. I think if you wanted to still be safe on the second half, I think that being smart means that you determine where you think your property is normally, or where does it normally perform as far as 25th to 50th percentile, which is the gray, right?
Yep.
Or is it the 50th to 75th percentile, which is this coral color, or above that, which is why you can see. So you can see how many people, because the size of the bar sort of equates to the volume, to the sort of like the number of properties. And you don't get the total number count of how many properties I have here. You can sort of gauge it when you sort of like scroll out. And these are just 3 bedrooms. So you can see there's clusters of where these properties are located, et cetera, et cetera. There's a ton of townhouses in this mix for sure, because of the way the Houston properties actually work. And then you can sort of see here. So then I go by what's actually driving demand right now. And there's only one event driving any FIFA demand, which is telling me right now nothing is happening here. If you wanted to be safe, I would say you're going to probably ride somewhere between the 50th and 75th percentile on the second half, because you still have plenty of time. Like, just taking a look at this here, barely anything is even occupied. We're still here for the 4th of July, sort of depending on how that plays out, at below market occupancy of 25%. So when we sit this low in market occupancy, there's still so much more room that's going to happen. And again, you're not going to know until these games start playing to then understand what the second half is. So I think people can hedge their bets. And again, some people, if they know how exactly where people are at and what's going on, I'm sure there's going to be some people where, if there's some sort of crazy game that happens, but the unknown is the unknown. And what people are saying right now is they're like, this is really not happening as intended. So instead of people like waiting to the last minute on everything, you should definitely be more realistic about where people are actually booking at. We know where people are booking at from a price standpoint because of this blue line. And you can see that this little thin blue line is below my current strategy for right now, or wherever your black line may be in this little window here. And again, at the end of the day, I am wanting to garner as much occupancy as I can, instead of saying, "Wow, I was really able to get $1,000 for one night or 2 nights or whatever." I would rather be happier with a $500 rate for multiple nights, as many as possible, as opposed to getting one night at $1,000 or whatever. Of course, I would want that, but this is so unknown right now. And people were like, "Hey, this is going to be whatever it was," and that was 2 months ago, and it didn't pan out. It's now literally having people from Price Labs and the other major markers out there saying, "Hey, this doesn't seem like it's panning out." So people, be ready to start making those changes so you can at least start picking up normal occupancy. I feel in this market right here, because market occupancy is so low, right? I have a peak here, but this is this isn't even, this is DreamCon. This isn't even FIFA. This is after FIFA, or right around
Mhm.
the edge of FIFA here. And I have a nice occupancy peak, but I don't have anything else driving my demand here. And I am a demand driven individual, right? If, for example, demand is driving right here this weekend of May 16th, demand is more important than anything that we could possibly do. When there's enough demand, meaning like, hey, I'm higher than last year, but last year we only maxed out at 70% occupancy. I still know that 30% of the market's going to go without being sold. I still have to book this weekend. I still need to book this weekend. And that means it's just a couple weeks away. I got to go ahead and get something on the books, because at the end of the day, it's you can't take $0 to the bank. So when you are doing a pricing strategy and you're looking at what is more important, is it occupancy or rate? It's really about the balance, right? I can't sacrifice I don't really want to sacrifice too much of my rate, but at the same time, if I'm not booked, I also do not want to go the weekend without being booked. So especially when what you're talking about, Darsh,
Mhm.
this is a very much this is actually a little bit stronger than just a weekend demand. If our occupancy, a good rule of thumb is if your market occupancy is under 50%, like 46, 48, 49, then generally speaking, you really are only running, you're only busy during the week, and during the weekend, and you have to be extremely diligent to try to get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday bookings. Houston sits a little bit higher, closer to 60%, which means that it has had the ability to pick up um, some other length of stay during the week. And what you need to do in order to be smart about that is usually have some sort of, for example, here I have some very heavy discounts for him, almost 23%, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, trying to pick up additional occupancy because those 3 days, generally speaking, are very much in low demand. And you can go across people's calendars and see that, depending on what it is. But the majority of what happens is people are booking 2 and 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But yet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Sunday through Wednesday are generally open. So I'll go ahead and offer it's basically the tale of two cities, which ends up creating this up and down little period that you end up seeing here. But we make it up. Staying as highly booked as possible. I don't know. Let's see what we did here. 56. So, okay. So 58, 56 there. That's on year to date. Let's see last year. Just to sort of see this year, last year, this month, year to date. Oh, well, I don't have that much more in the books. So yeah, so my thought process is the twofold here. FIFA is not playing out. Houston does not have a huge lot of demand, but you can go ahead and hedge your bets on the second half by still keeping the second half somewhere in the 50th to 75th percentile before you think you need to come down. Now this is sort of like not fully understanding what your graph looks like, what your stuff looks like there. And so I would want to definitely see more in order to make that. But what it's definitely telling me is, and just seeing the data come out from people at Price Labs or people at Key Data, is that the anticipation for what people thought it was going to be has not come to fruition. And you can just see right now, General Houston here, it's a very short-term market, and you can see I say this when I look at this here. I say that this market doesn't have a lot going on right now, and so right now I shouldn't be expecting a ton of reservations coming in. It just depends on like, hey, now I should be getting a reservation for this weekend here, especially like on this property that I have. But then I don't see a lot of demand out here that is saying, "Hey, that I should have really have a reservation on the books." And I do. I mean, I have some, which I'm happy about when the market hits 25%. Because for me, if people book out further, the further people book out, the more they are actually paying. I, am fairly aggressive because of the oversaturation of these markets. So my goal is to always want people to book further out as much as possible, and that becomes really the whole thing. And it doesn't matter if you're in a if you're on the beach, if you're in the city, if you're in the mountains or whatever, things like this booked in March, things like this, where it's booked, on the weekend and then during the week, is something that, is going to be very good. And the market is sitting at low occupancy here at the end of July, but I have a good reservation coming on the books. And so the more that we can make that happen through this cycle of great stays, great reviews, proper pricing, the right photos, rinse and repeat, the better off we are, for the future here. So this is sort of what I wanted to show you guys here, is that on every property that I have created I think there's 19 different data points here. I'm in what's called the multi-calendar view here. This is sort of my main page every time I log into somebody's Price Labs account. And I didn't create anything. All I did was select metrics that Price Labs already has for us in a fashion that makes sense to me. And so this, when I have 225 properties that I'm looking at all the time, having this consistency and this continuity of the same metrics in the same order all the time gives me the ability to, at a glance, say, is the property performing, or does it need a little tweak? What's happening, et cetera, et cetera. So I may have covered just a little bit of this last week, but I'm going to go more in depth here. And so the first one I start is 30-day occupancy. And I love it that Price Labs has this color coded. And so basically what this is telling me here is that my listing over the next 30 days is 33% booked. The market of, other 3 bedrooms in the neighborhood are 35% booked. I'm right in line. If I book one 3-night reservation, it's another 10% in occupancy. And the goal is always to be in excess of market occupancy. And it's when we come down to this MPI, which is Market Penetration Index, I'll explain that a little bit more. And then we can sort of see that, hey, over the next 60 days, I'm sitting at 30 where the market's only at 27. And then over the next 90, 27 versus 23, which is why it goes from red, yellow, green, blue. And I always want to sort of be in the blue. And so this is going to say to me, hey, Ron, you should probably come in and do the deeper dive. Take a look to see what's going on. Do you need to change up your comp set? Do you need to adjust base pricing? Do you need to layer in any more last minute discounts based on how the market is performing? But let's be honest here, the market only sitting at 35% is not the strongest, right? This is what I'm seeing across the board, but we are in that dead zone a little bit of post spring break, but before summer, right? So all the kids are still in school. The parents are busy. We really have less working from home and less digital nomads than we did a couple of years ago, which I feel has definitely impacted places like Houston and potentially other areas that are sort of city driven as well too. So I watch these very closely. Then I go into 3 sets of revenue, 30, 60, 90 as well too. And the cool thing about this is now if the property's been operating for more than a year, I can now start to see how we are trending compared to same time last year. And so this property was just coming online. So it's been open for just a year. So these data points will help me gauge that if I'm performing better or worse than last year at a glance. And then immediately I'll go to rate, right? So here's the huge win is that right now, and again, you can see that we opened it last year. We had an ADR over the next 45 days coming up of 204 last year, but this year the ADR is 311. There are ways to grow both occupancy and rate more so than people sort of think, and that idea of people booking out and booking further will always help increase the ADR, and then will also help us achieve our revenue goals, which right now we're sitting okay, right? I think some work needs to be done in order to get us back into the blue, but it could be just as easy as booking one more 3-night reservation. And then I call this production. This is how many nights booked over the last 30, 15, 7, and 3. I'm always looking for at least, and again, this is a lot to ask, but I really should be looking, especially in a normal pattern, to get some sort of reservation at least every week, right? Especially like it just this constant little flow of 3 nights coming in every 7 nights. If it starts to go that I don't have, and this is actually not a lot of room nights booked over the last 39 is a little bit low. If I was maybe on 20 or 23, I would be happier. So I feel that we are down a little bit in production. Okay. So again, another point that I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. My occupancy seems like it's just a little bit struggling. And we haven't produced a ton of room nights over the last 30 days. So I need to dig deeper to see, hey, did they end up getting a bad review? Did something happen there? Has the market changed, which some of these markets have changed, et cetera, et cetera. Then I go into what I feel is one of the most important things, and it's called Market Penetration Index, or MPI. And it gives you the little formula up here. It's the listing occupancy divided by the market occupancy. When rules of engagement, I have to at least be at market occupancy for me to feel like, hey, things are just okay. I would much rather have this factor be at 1.5 to 2. When I'm sitting at 1.5 to 2, I know that may sound high to some people. All that means is that my property is being booked twice as much as the normal properties, either like 1.5 times or 2 times as much as the properties in the rest of the market. And that's really the way that we will end up being top 1% properties, especially on the revenue side, is when you are feeding an MPI of that. And I'm going to bring up another property in just a second that shows the difference in how it ends up looking there. And then on a year-to-date basis, we're slightly down to market occupancy. Again, we don't have any year-over-year data numbers, but this keeps us in check when we do have year-over-year to make sure that our year-to-date totals are still in alignment as well. Because you could sometimes look good here, but be down on revenue, and you have to then understand, hey, why am I not producing as much revenue? And was it rate, or was it is this occupancy on a year-to-date basis that I'm missing, or something from that perspective? And then I always recommend people turning on this enhanced color coding so we can really see what demand looks like. If we have really low demand in this terracotta orange, or we have really high demand in this blue, which is supposed to be high demand. But I'm like, hey, we should basically be booked then, right? I don't have a repeating reservation year over year here, but last year for the Memorial Day weekend, it was $216, and I'm currently sitting $100 more per night. So I'm getting close to my window where I've discounted, and I'm discounting a little bit because sort of the aggressiveness that Price Labs takes when it sees high demand. They can be a little bit too aggressive, and you just have to watch what's going on. But once I book these 2 time periods, and I don't foresee that I won't. This isn't one of those things where like, hey, I'm gonna let this go where I'm not going to get a reservation, like demand had cratered or something like that. It just means that I haven't booked yet. And once I get 3 nights here and 3 nights over here, and I may, I have the adjustment of the 2 night length of stay during the week. In this perspective, individual does not take one nighters because they're afraid of parties. He was taking them and then he stopped. Once I get these 2 reservations in, my other data points are really going to pop up here. So these 19 different data points will tell me so much about the health of the individual unit before I even, go into that pricing calendar view that I was just in prior to this. But at a glance, I can see, for example, and I'm going to clear this out just to sort of show you here. At a glance, I can see how many properties in a portfolio are generally performing quite easier, right? So this gives me a ton of visibility into a larger scale portfolio at one time, which is why this is super important to me from that perspective. And then a property that is highly successful here is one that sort of looks like this, where the market is this is like a broken bow. This is like in the mountains. Just north of driving from Dallas about 2.5 hours. We're sitting at 50 or 7% occupancy. The market's only at 29. So that puts me at a 1.9, sort of like my ideal area. We produced 37 room nights over the last 30, very high production, very strong. We see that there's a nice, this is like a 5-bedroom home. We see that our ADRs over the next 45 days are sitting in the 600s. We can see a lot of information from this standpoint that really helps us understand the health of the unit without really having to go in. Now, what this also saying to me, Ron, because this is performing so well, you can go ahead and be that much more aggressive when it comes to your pricing. You really cannot be aggressive if you are not killing your market occupancy. You cannot have the confidence that you're going to be able to sit and play, well into this either 75th or 90th percentile, which is really what we always say that we want to be. You have to be achieving it. And then the other place that you have to be achieving it, which is a very graphical standpoint here, when the market's only for May sitting at 46% occupancy, but I'm already sitting at 58 for May, and I'm not even in May yet, because I could probably pick up another 3 nights during the week or something like that, because my weekends are already sold out. That would bring me to almost 70% occupancy when the market only does 46, or that's what they did last year. I know I'm a great, 1% performing property when I can crush this at a nice rate, right? I'm not saying that you're going to be the highest priced, but there's this combination of being the right price in order to achieve 70, 75% occupancy, sometimes even greater when the market barely is hitting 50%. So this is what I'm always striving for any of my clients, for anybody that's in this business. And it comes down to those things that we looked at with your, sort of initial listing there. But that sort of gives us this perspective of, hey, we got a lot of good stuff going on here. So I know it's a lot, but that's sort of like how this is like what I do day in and day out. And every time I do something and it hits right, it gives me more confidence that, hey, we're definitely on the right direction here. And so that's why I am very highly critical, especially of photos and reviews, because I can't be the only one sort of responsible for everybody's pricing. It's really a collaborative effort between myself, who's hosting the property, and who's sort of managing it, especially from the service, cleanliness, and maintenance perspective. right? It all comes together that if all of those other pieces are in place, then watching this data come in and achieving high numbers like this gives me the confidence to continue to raise this property's prices and put them, well into the 75th percentile, hitting into the 90th percentile. So does that make a little bit of sense to you guys? I know it's a lot.
No, that totally makes sense. I did have a couple of follow-up questions,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
just
No,
being
go ahead.
mindful of everyone else in the call. Lisa, if you had any questions.
No, I'm good. This has been very fascinating.
Yeah, dude, like I don't mind analyzing people's properties at all, even if like there's only like going to be a few people on here or whatever. I mean, I would certainly love doing that for people. From that, if we let's just, I guess since we do have this, because Lisa looked like she had a gorgeous property, and I just wanted to take a quick look at that, Darsh, before we answer your questions here. But I love for me, Lisa, this is just like really grabs my attention. There's so many engaging photos here. Now, me personally, I'll just say this: I'm not a fan of the collage. It does show up okay on. I'm on my iMac right now, so it does show up good on my iMac. But if I was on my iPhone, for me, I just don't like them. But this is done very, very nice, because you have you are selling such a fun experience with things that are captivating, using all of your elements out here, and then capturing what's going on in the house. You're a top 5% of homes. You obviously have been working this for a couple of years, from what you can tell, and this doesn't come. It's not easy. For everybody that does this on a continual basis, it's not always easy, as we know. But it is a gorgeous property, and it was very well designed. I love when there's pops of color, especially captured through whoever did this staging. They really were looking at this, and then you start to add the serenity of the design when you get into the bedrooms here. I love the feature wall here with the blue, very, very much serene. I'm a huge fan of anything that can come across as like natural, organic, if that's the perspective that the designer was intending to, and you can see with what they've done here. From that side, I love it. Anytime that you have a great, this just like every single item here has been very heavily curated, and that makes
thanks, Ron. I
that
appreciate that. I did the design and the staging.
Right, to me, every single piece of this has been curated. That's just how I look at it.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, we just passed our 1 year mark on this property.
Nice.
Yep, I got top 1% the first 13 weeks. We went
Yeah,
live,
it's so
bumped up to 5. It kind of toggles back and forth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it funny how that happens? Like, you're like, what do you mean I'm not top 1% anymore? And it's like, clearly, and I don't know exactly what it causes us go from either 10%, 5%, 1% per se. To me, it's I think this is Airbnb loves this constant ebb and flow of the getting the 3-night book, getting this book, getting the review, that response. There's so many things that come into play here. So I would say, I think here there is and I don't know if I've seen them yet, to have and you can like, for me, I think you can use AI very easily. Hey, make these have leaves on them. So instead of having to bring out a photographer, this was done obviously late winter, before spring came in, but to have then at least the ones that have the trees, just to show them when they're green, because then that's the only thing that I'm gauging here. But every single little piece of curation here. Fire, s'mores, beer, all of that is great. Even like how you've layered this, and it still looks like, hey, that really could be a Colorado sunset, and I totally get it. Like, yeah. And then I love, the experiential photos, especially coming from the hot tub and all of that. So yeah, great. You can really tell that there was a ton of just blood, sweat, and tears that went into this, and that to me is super important. But that's yeah, I'm all for that.
Thank you. Yeah, the picture I had before the collage was that game room one with the checkers.
Yeah,
But
and this
feel
is actually.
I
Oh,
feel
go
like
ahead.
we could get that one retaken. Like it's a great capturing of the experience, but I'm not something about it isn't totally jiving with me, but it did get a lot of I feel like it did well with that picture.
Yeah, yeah, and I think like if and then also I think, and again, maybe it's not so much for Colorado homes, but if you did have some aerial shots of the property as well too. I don't know how your backyard fully lays out and all of that, but I do think that would be good. I think I'm a huge fan of this photo right here. I mean, I think this sort of like captures it as well too for me. I'm very much a hot tub person though. Oh, that's really cool. Let me just see if I can find. Did I miss the? I like this. See, the billiards lounge is nice. Oh, wait a minute. Which one?
Yeah,
The.
this one had been my cover photo if you go back one.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Was it this one or this one
No.
here with the checkers and the?
No, it's the other one with the checkers straight on, that one. And
Oh, okay, cool.
I did get a lot of bachelor bookings off of that because I'm like 12.
Because of the whiskey, because of the whiskey, right?
Yes, but then we're also like 12 miles or
To-
15 minutes to the stadium. And then
Okay, yeah.
same distance to downtown Denver. And we're also fairly close to Red Rocks.
Yeah. I have that's where Rami's property is at, is in Arvada, and then I have another client that he has a 5 bedroom and a 4 bedroom. Yours, I really love the design and very definitely very well done from that perspective. It can just do it. Do you live local
I
for
live
your
in I live in Colorado Springs, so I'm like an hour and 20
Okay,
minute drive. Yeah, so I've
yeah,
actually been doing my own turnovers just because
yeah.
I'm so OCD about all the detail and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great, definitely great market, especially. And you have some there's nice I mean, there's a ton of nice properties that have some really nice designs and good amenities and stuff like that. So it's not, it's also a highly competitive market as well too, but very, very, very well done. And that's where Darsh, just like on yours, I just think that there's an opportunity to for those photos to be amped up. For me, anything that's colorful and visual, I guess it's because even though I'm extremely highly analytical, I also love this creative side. So I watch so many home renovation shows that like are giving me ideas of what could go in, like a feature wall, or like, hey, it's really funny right now. They have a competition show, and Hulk Hogan's daughter Brooke, she was an STR designer in Nashville, and they just got done doing like the primary bedroom, and she put in a pink Himalayan sea salt sauna and a steam room. You can really tell that she is very much on the STR design side of things because of the types of amenities that she was putting in and talking about and stuff like that. And I feel this industry, we're like on the forefront of what's going on. So I tend to gravitate to people that have more amenities, more stuff, more cool stuff that really sort of seems to set the tone. Now, is it always easy? No, but we love doing it, right? So cool. Okay. Well, Any more questions? Darsh, let's see. What other questions do you have so we can get your final questions answered and we can wrap it up for the evening.
Yeah, just a quick one. So you mentioned on the production section on your dashboard, you said nights
Yeah.
booked. You should have at least one night booked every week or so.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that more for the
so like
algorithm?
one, yeah, so yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So if and again, it really sort of depends on like your season and demand, right? So when I was in that Houston property and there was not a ton of demand right now, but it still means that about every 7 to 10 days, I should be getting my next 3 or 4 night reservation, right? Every time you do that, and every time, as soon as you have a guest that stays there and you can turn around that review, hopefully within a day of them departing, is self-fulfilling. So every time you turn around a 5-star review, that's going to be that bump. Every time you are either getting a reservation or processing an inquiry to convert to a reservation or whatever that you're doing, it becomes, I feel, very positive for the algorithm. And so, yes, I start to say if I don't have a reservation within 2 weeks, for sure, I'm going to really nitpick and figure out what I need to do to get a reservation because I don't want to go too long. If I go too long and I'm not booking or I'm not converting, Airbnb is going to drop me in the algorithm. It's just automatic. You will drop because you're not booking and other people, especially if other people are booking, right? If the market is booking and you are not one of the market leaders, you're one of the market, you're trailing in the market and you're just not as favorable, not as positive as the other things. And I feel all of that adds together to performance of the unit.
The reason why I ask is I think in July I'm pretty much booked for every single weekend, and then I'm my booking rate, as you mentioned, it's kind of slowed down
Mhm.
since I'm getting booked out far out in advance. So does that mean that I need
Now, are
to?
you? Well, I was going to say, now July. Half of this is half, like we're sort of saying, half of it, half of it's FIFA. The other half of it is were your rates too low? Anything from that perspective? Because that's what I might be concerned with a little bit. As long as your rates were high enough, and again, I don't know, higher than whatever threshold you had it at, higher than than that blue line, especially the market, or higher, hey, I'm sitting in the 50th to 75th percentile and I got a booking there for my price, I'll be all day long, I'll be like, oh yeah, that looks good, or that sounds good. Or it could be if I'm in the gray or in too low, then maybe I was priced too low. So that's the next question you ask is, was the rate that I booked at a good rate for the market for today, like when it booked?
Okay.
So that's the next question you have to ask is what percentile did you sort of book in? So cool. Okay. That's a lot. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the input and the collaboration here. If anybody needs anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I'll be doing every Monday for the foreseeable future. So if you guys have any feedback, please feel free to share. I think Katie was asking for some topics. If you guys have any of those, you can give them to her. And we're going to somehow, I think, put some information together so that they can be scheduled heading into May. So if not, have a beautiful night.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks,
Okay, thank you
Ron.
guys.
Thank
Yep, you
you.
guys take care. Yep, bye.